शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यश्छन्दसा मृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरि विश्रुवं ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिवा कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव श्रमितमस्मि द्रविणगुंसवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति शङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मानि ईस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम भद्रं भद्रं नो अपि वातय मनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं ह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Shruti-smriti-purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Narayanam Padmabhubam Vasishtam Shaktim Cha Tatputra Parasharam Cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadam Chasta Malakam Cha Shishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakaram Satmat Asmat Guru Santato Manatosmi Om Vishwam Darpanadishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyan Atmani Mayaya Bahirivodbhutam Yata Nidraya Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Swatmanam Evadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Bijasyantarivāṅkuro jagadidam Prāṅnirvikalpam punaha Maya kalpita desha kala kalana Vaichitrya chitri kritam Maya viva vijrambhayatyapi maha yogi vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Yasyaiva Sphuranam Sadatmakam Asatkalparthakam Bhasate Sakshat Tattvamasiti Vedavachasa Yo Bodhayatyashritan Yat Sakshat Karanad Bhavennapan Punaravrittirbhavam Bhonidhau Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Nana Chidraghatodara Mahadipa Prabhabhaswaram Jnanam Yasya Tu Chakshuradhikarana Dvara Bahispandate Janamiti Tameva Bhantamanubhati Etat Samastam Jagat Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Deham Pranamapi Indriyanapi Chalam Buddhim Cha Shunyam Viduhu Stri Balanda Jadopamaствhamiti Bhranta Bhritam Vadinaha Bhranta Bhrisham Vadinaha Maya Shakti Vilasa Kalpita Mahavyamoha Samharine Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshina Murtaye. So, as you know, the methodology we are following in the analysis of the Brahma Sutras is that for each sutra, the analysis is segmented into three parts. So one is a general idea about the sutra, the connection to the previous one and the connection to the next one. So general idea, general introduction, which can be called in Sanskritam Samanya Vichara. Not Vishesha Vichara, but Samanya Vichara, general introduction. Then the second segment is a word analysis of the sutra. Because the sutras are extremely well written, precise, perfect, with no ambiguity. And therefore we need to understand what the word meanings are. So this could be called Vishesha Vichara, a particular understanding. So this was the number 2. Then the third one is a general summary of the whole thing. having understood what the word meanings are and how they now fit into the whole, and as a general summary, so that it stays with you, very much like any excellent speech will always have three parts to it. What we are going to talk about, then talk about it, and a summary of what we talked about it. So this is the number 3, which is called Upasamhara, and that's the conclusion. So this is the structure we are following. Now, we are now studying the first sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa, which, as you know, means Atha, Ataha, Brahma Jigyasa. These are the constituent words of this sutra. Okay. So, in the last class, we were covering the discussion of the first word, Ataha. So, the meaning, we saw this in some detail, and I'll just summarize it for today and then go on. What is the meaning of Ataha here? Because, I'm talking about Atha. So we saw the Atha. Atha means, what is the meaning of Atha? So Atha has different meanings. So it has a meaning of continuity, the beginning, and also Mangalacharya. Mangalacharya means something which is auspicious, because we saw Dvavetau Kantau Viditva. So Atha Om Atha Om Atha. So the Atha was spoken by Brahmaji in the very beginning of this Kalpa. And so therefore it becomes very auspicious to just say that, like Om and Atha. So that's the third meaning of the Atha. So this was covered quite a bit. And what was concluded by the scholars, none other than Adi Shankara's Bhashya itself, that Atha means a continuity, not a beginning. In fact, you know what interesting? The third, after the general introduction to the sutras was over, we were going to take up the exact Bhashya of Shankara, and to understand, for those of you that know Sanskrit, to understand what the meaning of these words are. We were going to do that. So I don't know whether we will have time to do that today, but at this point in time, let us look at the first couple of sentences of the Bhashya and see the meaning of it in both the Gambhirananda ji's book in English, and also some things that he has not pointed out. In fact, it's a neglect in my opinion. And so I want to point that out. So let us now go over to the exact Bhashya itself. Okay, and I sent you a copy of the Bhashya. For those of you who can read Sanskrit, you can read along with me. So the Bhashya for the first sutra, which is also called the Jigyasa Adhikaranam. Adhikaranam is a topic, and so normally there are several topics within one sutra. But in the first 4 sutras, each sutra has one topic alone. And the first sutra, which is called Athato Brahma Jigyasa, it is called Jigyasa topic. Means the desire to know. Jigyasa means Gyatum Ichha, desire to know. So we are, stepping back, just looking at it. This means a desire for complete freedom. Now that's the topic. Jigyasa means a desire for unconditional freedom. So now if you look at our lives and how how it has unfolded for us, regardless of who we are, for everyone. We are not sure about even entertaining the desire for complete freedom. We don't, there's no, it doesn't happen. Because all that happens is a desire for a freedom for the time being from some problems that we are having. This is what our lives are all about. So, what that means is we have a desire for conditional freedom. So, you may have a physical problem. Supposing you have a stomach ache and it's really bothering you. And so you now have a desire to remove the stomach ache. And there are means to do so. You can figure out what is causing it and then get the right medicines and medical advice for it. And then you are done. So that desire is now fulfilled. Similarly, we have lots of desires every day. It's just amazing how many different directions they are coming from. And if you don't have any physical problems, then we have our emotional and mental problems. What is going on? And so we have a laundry list of things that we want to get rid of. But in and through all of that, it doesn't happen where we say, I wish I could not even be subject to any desires. Desires means, desire meaning it's something that bothers me. That's what desire means. It is not acceptable to me have that emotion in my mind that I need something. I don't want that. And so to eliminate that, I keep on doing different things. But in and through that, we don't have a desire for no desire. Even though that is exactly what we are seeking. And the desire for no desire is something that cannot be undertaken immediately. It cannot be done. Cannot be done. What would happen is, what happens is that if you get tired of not being able to fulfill your desires and be continuously in the effect of not being able to fulfill the desires, there is some discomfort that comes in. And somewhere in the background it says, wouldn't it be nice? This is just a casual desire. Then I think the best thing that can happen is that you can get introduced to the possibility of complete freedom, which is not available. You look around, where are you going to find that? Oh yes, there are books written and so on and so forth, but those really don't have a profound impact on you. Doesn't really make much difference. Somehow or the other, you glom on to this wisdom. And there also it comes very slowly, because you have a quizzical look on your face. Really? I mean, I can be completely free? How? It belies my experience. So you really have to have a very, I don't know what you need to have. You have some kind of shraddha, some kind of courage, mixed up with a lot of different things to continue. Okay? So what it really means is that desires cannot be begun formally. I tell you why I'm go through all this, because I'm going to read the first sentence of the Bhashya, and there is a word there called adhikarartha. And that adhikarartha is a very important one. And unfortunately, Swami Gambhirananda ji, I was looking for how is he going to translate that. And he does not even touch on it. And it wasn't until, so I had to sort of look into some references. And of course, the gold standard is this book that I may have mentioned it to you, which is called Shankara Bhashya Ratna Prabha Bhasha Anuvada. So there is a tika, not a tika, but a bhashya, a vyakhya. A vyakhya means a commentary on the bhashya written by Ratna Prabha. And so this is also given with Hindi translation. And I also consulted Swami Dayananji's notes from the Piercy days and correlated that. And there the wisdom comes in as to what this means. So let me now do the following. Okay, I'm interrupting the general introduction, which we will go back, and I'm now going over to the Bhashya itself, reading the words from the Bhashya, and then seeing what the meanings are, and I will distill the main content of that in a minute. Okay, so let me first read the Bhashya. Atra Atasabdaha Analysis Parigrihyate na adhikarartha Brahma Jigyasayaha Anadhikaryatvat. Okay, in fact, I think we can just stop there and not go to the. In fact, let me read the next of them, but I will not explain it. Anadhikaryatvat mangalasya cha vakyarthe samanvaya abhavat arthantara prayukte eva hi atashabdaha shrutya mangala prayojanayoh bhavati purva prakrita apekshayascha phalataha anantarya avyavirekat gatirekat. This is the meaning. So let me just focus on the first segment of it and let's go over that. Atra atashabdaha anantaryartha parikrihyate na adhikarartha brahma jigyasayaha anadhikaryatvat. This is the segment that we'll now focus on. So what is the meaning of that? So atra means in asmin vishaye, in this subject matter. Subject matter means the jigyasa adhikaranam, this sutra, in this sutra, atra, atha shabdaha. So the word called atha is anantaryartha. Anantaryartha means, ananta means after a continuation is called ananta. So a sense of continuation is the meaning of the Atha Shabda. Okay? Parigrihyate. Parigrihyate means this is what we will adopt. This is the right thing for us to think about. What is to think about? That the Atha Shabda's meaning is continuation, not a specific beginning. And that is means na adhikarartha. So the word adhikara, these are very all technical words and sometimes they have to be really explained very well. So the technical word here is adhikarartha. So adhikarartha means you cannot say this is now I'm going to do this. This is called the adhikara, isn't it? Adhikara means the one who's qualified. And so I want this. This is called adhikarartha. So then he says, Brahma Jigyasayaha Anadhikaryatvat. He says the desire to know unconditional freedom. That is what Brahma Jigyasa is. As we talked about before, the desire for unconditional freedom does not suddenly arise where you must fulfill it. It doesn't happen. Okay? So here, Swami Dayanand Ji had pointed out, I remember I went through my notes from 1982. He says, listen, any ichcha, any desire cannot be mandated. Cannot be mandated. You cannot say, in fact, both the positive as well as the negative. So the positive is an ichcha, a desire, and the negative is anger. Desire means something to solve a problem, and anger means a disturbance in your mind about something that was not good. So these are the two, positive and negative. These two cannot be mandated. How do you mean by that, not mandated? Swamiji used to say this. He says, okay, now you're all sitting there. Let us begin to be angry. Each one of you. I want every one of you to be angry. It doesn't happen. It cannot be done. Cannot be done. You can ask Ishvara, God, you are almighty and you're all powerful, Sarvashaktiman, and you can do anything, can't you? So Ishvara says, yeah, that's true. I do have that power. Okay, then make me angry right now. You know what Ishvara will say? Oops, I can't do that. Can't do that. You cannot make someone, you cannot mandate anger. And also you cannot mandate desire. So both desire positive and anger negative sneak up on you. They just happen, but you cannot mandate it. This is the meaning of na adhikararthaha brahma jigyasayaha anadhikaryatvat. In fact, any desire cannot be mandated, and especially this wonderful desire to be totally free cannot be mandated. It has to sneak up on you. This is the meaning. And I was looking to see if Swami Gambhirananda, how he deals with it. He doesn't deal with it. He doesn't deal with it. It is really interesting. I mean, you talk about, anyway. Then the next one is Mangalasya. What is the Mangalartha? That he deals with very well, and that's easy to understand. And so we can even, and basically it says, in fact, I'll read his commentary on that so that you can refer to it. And I think the translation by Swami Gambhirananda does mention it. I'm being hard on it, but it doesn't explain it. So if you look at the English translation of the first sutra, which is given on page 6 at the very bottom, he says, the word artha thereafter is used in the sense of sequence, correct, and not commencement. It is also correct. For Brahma Jigyasa is not a thing that can be commenced. I think he says it. I don't know. I mean, why am I criticizing it? So Brahma Jigyasa is not a thing that be commenced. And then go to the second part of that, which I will now read, so we can finish with this translation. We already did the first part, which was Atra Atasabdaha Anantaryarthaha Parigrihyate Na Adhikararthaha Brahma Jigyasayaha Anadhikaryatvat. We did that. Now the second part is Mangalasya cha Vakyarthaha Samanvaya Bhavat Arthantara Prayukte Eva Atahi Atashabdaha Shrutya Mangala Prayojanayoh Bhavati Purva Prakrita Apekshayascha Phalataha Anantarya Avyatirekat. So this is the second part of it. So there it says, in the Atashabda, so there are three possibilities to summarize. One is it is starting on thereafter, continuation, not a new beginning. Secondly, it is continuation. Secondly, it is not a new beginning. Thirdly, it is not auspicious word. It's not an auspicious word. Why? Because there is no meaning for the auspiciousness. Just the utterance of Atha is itself auspicious. So that he explains very well. He says on the top of page 7, and the meaning auspiciousness cannot enter syntactically into the purport, means purpose, I guess, in the Old English, of a sentence. Beside the word artha, even when used in some other sense, serves the purpose of auspiciousness from the very fact of its being heard. Very correct. Very correct. Okay, so that is the analysis. Where did my bookmarker go? So that is we are finished now with the analysis of the Atashabda. Right? Okay. Now we go to the second word, which is called Ataha. Ataha means therefore. And so therefore means what? Therefore means there is some cause for it. You see, now we say that you cannot mandate desire, but when we are seeing desire, the question is, why did the desire happen? Similarly with krodha, with anger. So you cannot mandate anger, but anger comes, it happens, it sneaks up on you, as we said earlier. So the question is, what is the reason for it? Because we don't like, really speaking, I talk about desire being positive and anger being negative. Actually, both of them are negative, if you really analyze it. Why are both negative? Because a desireless state of being is really what I want. My real desire is that I don't have any desires. I'm sitting there quietly. All of a sudden, I come up, the desire comes in. Wouldn't it be nice, we can starting with even a cup of coffee. Wouldn't it be nice if we had some coffee? Well, this is Swami Chinmayananda's famous example. I remember that so well. He says you are sitting there and everything is okay, you are happy with yourself and so on. Suddenly somebody is drinking coffee And suddenly a desire comes in your mind, shouldn't I have coffee too? And so now the desire for coffee makes you unfulfilled. Just the prior moment you were fulfilled. Yeah, the same thing happens, Swami Dayanand's famous, I think I've told you this before, that Swamiji used to say that really one of the more irrational emotions we have is that of envy, of being jealous of someone. So because what happens is you go to some kind of a social evening, and you're happy, you're just sitting there and chatting with people. How are you? We're doing well, this, that, I'm happy coronavirus is not affecting us. We are happy, everything is okay. Then you find out from some person that this other guy who used to be your neighbor in San Jose 15 years ago has now become a multimillionaire. $50 million. He's sold a couple of companies. And he's just sitting right there, so you can be introduced. And he says, you know that guy, don't you? And say, yeah, he used to be my neighbor. Do you know he has just sold his second company and now he's got $50 million. And he's buying homes in Tahoe and Hawaii, and you were fulfilled a minute ago. All of a sudden, Irsha means jealousy, becomes a desire. Why? How did I do wrong? Hey, you didn't know nothing. Weren't you just happy? Yes, but now I cannot be happy anymore. How could he do this? I should have done this. I'm telling you. I should have quit my job, and I should have... This is exactly what used to happen when we first came. I was working for IBM. And I tell you, this was a great accomplishment in 1960, 65, working for IBM. And I had a good salary. And I was rocking around like saying, oh, I'm so happy. I got this wonderful job. It's a good company. I'm doing well, and so on and so forth. And so if somebody had asked me, what would you like to do? I would have said, maybe a couple of promotions in my life and I'm done. These days, if you're just working as some kind of a entry-level worker, you are nothing. You are nobody. It is not until you now have a bright idea and you start an IPO and you make millions of dollars and so on and so forth. So it's all a matter of exactly where you are. Anyway, going back to, I haven't forgotten the context, both krodha, which is anger, as well as desire are negative in that sense. And the question is, why did it occur? Why did anger occur? Why did ichcha, desire, occur? Because both of them are negative. And anything which is negative must have a reason for it. Anger for sure, and even we saw, even in the case of desire, there is a reason why suddenly a desire comes in that disturbs you. What is the reason for it? So therefore, it says, fine, in the atasabdaha continuation, and ataha means, therefore there is a desire to know Brahman. So follow this technically. Atha means that there was a continuation. Ataha means therefore, for what? The desire to know Brahman. How did it happen? How did it happen? What is the reason for it? So there, it is pointed out. So this is what is called the Atasabdaha Analysis. So the Shastra gives two reasons for therefore. One reason is that karma cannot give moksha. Karma cannot give moksha. And we will expand on that in a minute. I'm just giving you the introduction. The second reason is Brahma knowledge, Brahma jnanam alone gives moksha. These are the two sides of the same coin. Karma cannot give moksha and Brahma jnanam alone gives moksha. And this is the reason why through Shastra slowly the desire comes that perhaps I should look into that. This is the meaning. It cannot be mandated. It is not a Mangalartha. It is a gradual continuation. And the gradual continuation comes from sadhana chatushtaya. For developing a mind which is imbued with viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shatka sampatti, and then mumukshutva. I must do this. This is worth for me. This is how slowly our life turns around. Cannot be mandated. Cannot be prescribed. So that's the meaning of na adhikarartha. Cannot prescribe. Karma can be prescribed. You can say that if you want, supposing you want some children, and you cannot have children, and the local guys cannot help you. Perhaps you can go and look at the Shastra to see if there are some puja you can do to have a child. That's possible. And so for that some yajna has to be performed. Something has to be prescribed. Similarly, the ichcha for complete freedom cannot be prescribed. It happens. It happens because you look into saying, is it a possibility that it might be? It's not a complete freedom yet, but a possibility of freedom comes in. This is how it is. So this Atasabdaha, the meaning of the therefore, that karma cannot give moksha, Brahma jnanam alone gives moksha. Where does it say that? So, three filters are again given: Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava. Again, the same thing. Those three filters have to go through, and if it goes through all three filters, then it is legitimate for me to entertain that ichcha. Shruti says it all the time. Na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amritattvamanshu parena nakam vihitam guhayam. We know this very well. Na karmana na prajaya. He says, you cannot gain moksha through doing something. Cannot do that. Not possible. Then, so this is Shruti. Then comes Yukti. Yukti says, Yukti is pointed. Yukti means a rational vichara. Logic, logical sense. A logical purity. Should not be illogical. Shruti can be saying something which is Shruti will never say which is something which is illogical. But at least I have to verify the logic of it. So the Shruti says, listen, this samsara that you have, the various experiences that you see in your life, is false. And so the falsity of it can be removed by understanding that it is false. At this moment, you don't take it to be false. And so therefore, you have a pravritti, you have an action for doing it. The best example of that really, I think, just to summarize this whole argument and so on, is the example of the Ropen snake. So if you take a rope to be a live snake, this is an error. Adhyasa. This is the adhyasa. If you take it to be a live snake, now, look at this, that karma cannot give moksha. Moksha means independence from samsara, isn't it? Independence from anything have the ability to give me problems. Anything, including my own body and mind. Those are the ones who give us most problems. We keep blaming the world, that if the world can improve, then I will be okay. I'm okay, but the world gives me problems. This is not true. But suppose you try it out and then the world doesn't give you any problems. Then are you now still free? No, because your own adhyatmika, all the apparatus that I have, they also give me problems. Swami Dayananda used to say there was a Swami in Sadhu. No, if he was a Swami or not, but he was a Sadhu in Rishikesh. And Swami Dayananda, when he started teaching and his name grew and he became recognized amongst the local people, before he went back to Swami Chinmayananji and started teaching at the Bombay ashram, he was in Rishikesh for quite a while. He was studying under some other gurus for a while and so on. So when his stature grew, then a lot of people were attracted to him, and some sadhus were also listening to him and so on. Not even, they were also listening. So Swami Dayananda says, one sadhu came to him and said, "Sir, I have a request. Do you know someone in the upper reaches of Ganga, like Gangotri or somewhere, where you can recommend that I live there for a while?" So Swamiji says that I think I know some people in upper reaches of the quieter places of the Ganga, because even Rishikesh was getting crowded even at that time. Now of course it is a highly crowded place, really not that conducive for meditation and so on, but even in those days it was not. So the sadhu said, "Can you please recommend some place for me and then I can go and live there?" So Swamiji says, "Yeah, I think I know some people, like we can do that." But he says, "Why do you want to do that?" He said, "Sir, in the morning there is so much noise that I cannot meditate. This is my problem." So Swamiji says, that is not a big problem, because you can, in fact, the whole idea about meditating is that even if you have noises and so on, you look upon that as something which is anatma and will go away. So Sadhu said, "Sir, I've tried all that, it doesn't really make it. So can you please just do this for me?" Swamiji said, "Okay." So he called a couple of his friends in Uttarkashi. It was in Uttarkashi. And said, "I have a sadhu that wants to come and live there. Is it okay?" So they said, "Fine, send him." So he went there. Swamiji says, I didn't see him for about several months. Then one day he comes back again. Swamiji says, "Hey, good to see you. How are you? How was Uttarkashi? And good to see you again back in..." So he says, "Sir, I could not stand Uttarkashi." Why? Because in the morning when I would get up and do my meditation, there were no noises, but the birds created so much. He says there are so many birds that in the morning they start making their sounds, and it's very distracting for me. And I tried my best to ignore it, but I can't do it. So I think I might as well be back here where there is better food and other people and so on and so forth. Swamiji says, this is the thing. Our moksha means that the world should not disturb me, but you yourself will disturb yourself. So don't blame the world. If you want to blame anything, then include your own self as part of the world, and then seeing if you can be different from your own body-mind complex. Everything is really, even that is false. Just like a dream, your status as a dreamer is also false, and the rest of the dream is also false. So you have to look at the totality of the falsehood. So going back to the example of the snake and rope, he says the snakeness is an error. Okay? Now, this is the important thing to see. If something is an error, like the vision of the snake, the sense of snakeness in a rope is an error, can you do something with karma? For example, can you bring a stick and beat this imagined snake to death? How ridiculous that would be. Exactly the same situation is there, that the whole experience of waking is false. And you cannot do something about it. You have to know something that's false. So here the doubt and the Purva Paksha comes in. So that is a very different example. In the case of the snake, it was I could see it. Yes, it was a mistake. But this is not a mistake. This is very real. So Siddhanti says, oh, wait a second. Did we not go over this Adhyasa Bhashya in great detail? Were you not there in that class when we discussed all aspects and concluded that the entire anatma is an adhyasa? All the experiences of life is really erroneous. You cannot fight it. You cannot beat it up. So the only way to do that is, you can say, yes, I don't see that as being unreal. That is acceptable. Because we accept the fact that you are fearful, you are upset by the world, upset by your own body-mind complex. We understand that. That is okay. But the way to address that is not to do something, but to know something. To know that it is false. Yes, you do need to do something to know something. That is a minor doing. We don't consider that as doing. Yes, you have to study. So by studying you are doing something. Yes. But it is not as though just the study itself. In fact, this is given in one of the Upanishads, very beautiful. He says, I think it is in Katha Upanishad, he says, you cannot just have moksha by just attending classes. Cannot be done. Lots of classes, lots of shravanam, lots of... You have to decide within yourself what's going on. The classes help you. Swami Maheshananji had pointed this out. Very beautiful thing, really, if you look at it. He says, I think I talked about this maybe in this class or in some of the other classes, I don't know. He says, let's look at the word guru. Gukarastva andakaro vai rukarastva nivartaka andakara nirodhitvat guru ityabhidhiyate. This is the verse that we all chant. He says, let's look at who is the real guru. Oh, you say the real guru? This person who's teaching these classes, he's my guru. Sometimes you call me Guruji. And this guy is my guru. Or you may say that Swami Chinmayananji is my guru. Swami Dayananji is my guru. Like that you can say this is guru. Swami Maheshananji says, these are not your real gurus. They are proxy gurus. They are not your real guru. What do you mean by that? Who's my real guru then? The real guru is your understanding that the world is really false. When that understanding comes, Gukarastva andakaro vai rukarastva nivartaka andakara nirodhitvat gururyabhidhiyate. He says, then this darkness meaning that seeing the world as real, will disappear. The moment the person realizes, oh my gosh, this snake is not real, I was just imagining it. And something has to be done to do that. But once it is done, so a very beautiful word, a very beautiful explanation of the word guru. That really speaking, this person that was talking to you, the one who was helping you, what was teaching you, yes, that's also a reflection of that wisdom. And it's good that the two of you are getting together and so on. But it's not the real guru. The real guru is your own wisdom. So, this is the Atma. The Atma is the real guru. And that will happen when Vritti Jnanam takes place, somehow or the other. It will, not somehow or the other, some time or the other, it will create that wisdom in you. So, in fact, we just read that in Dakshinamurti Stotra. Sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanam eva advayam tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye namaha Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So when sakshat, aparokshat, you see that, oh my God, I am something different from all this. That is when the wisdom really takes place. So now let's continuing on. It's almost close to 9 o'clock. I think we have enough time to spend quite a bit of more time. Okay. So, therefore, we have done with the word atha, we have done with the word ataha, and we also did Brahma Jigyasa, Gyatum Ichcha of the Brahman. So, some more analysis of Brahma Jigyasa. So, the meaning of the first sutra, and we have covered all this, although there are some more points on this, but we have already covered this before. The meaning of Athato Brahma Jigyasa is Brahma Jnanaya Vedanta Vichara Kartavyaha. Kartavyaha means, so you said that doing does not give me moksha. But you say Kartavyaha means it should be done. What should be done? Brahma Jnanaya Vedanta Vichara Kartavyaha. So this is just like saying that yes, your vision of snake is false, but you need to understand that it is false, and for that we need to do something. That doing means not the way you look at it, not that you have a stick now and you want to beat the snake to death, because that won't really do anything. That can only do if there is a real snake, but this is not a real snake. But that doing means you have to switch on the lights and look at it very carefully. So that is kind of doing, but it's not really the same as doing. So the meaning of this was Brahma Jnanaya, for the knowledge of Brahma, Vedanta Vichara Kartavya. So you have to now understand what is Vedanta. So Vedanta is saying, let me explain to you how your experiences are not real. Let me explain that to you. Just like saying, let me switch on the light and show you that this snake is not real. Exactly the same thing. So the word kartavyaha has a muted meaning, not the same meaning as you beat the snake to death. You take a stick out. No, that's not what it is. So there we saw jigyasa means jnanamichha, and jigya means, which is the sananta, avagati paryantam jnanam. This is important understanding. So means avagati paryantam means that until it is very clear to you, that desire has to be maintained. That desire has to be maintained, even though there are obstacles. So an example would be that your desire to study Vedanta can be interrupted by some bad experiences in your life. Bad experiences, and I don't mean anything major or anything, but just like, physical problems and so on. And so that has to be kept up. This is the same example that I'm going to cite in the Gita class next class. And so this is a good example where your journey in a train in India, or anywhere, but let's say in India, where it's a long journey from Chennai to New Delhi. In those days it used to take 30 hours. I don't know how long it takes now. Trains are much faster and so on. But still must take at least 15 to 16 hours. It's a long process. And in between you have a lot of stations, and you get tired of sitting there in this crowded station. And as soon as some stations come where it is declared ahead of time that here we need to stay for at least 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So then what happens is you come out of the compartment and you stretch your legs, and you perhaps have a cup of tea or coffee. And sometimes you can even look at some bookstores and so on and so forth. All this is when I was young, we used to do that. Now, when you're doing all that, you don't forget that your journey is not complete. And so you just walk around and have tea and so on and so forth, maybe a cookie or a biscuit, but then you have your vision to going back to the train. Because if you don't back to the train is left. Your journey will be completely messed up. And you don't do that. So in the back of your mind, you feel this is what you need to do. So similarly, in the example, Jnanam avagati paryantam jigyasa. So your desire to pursue moksha is there in the background. Even though you have to, when you're cooking or you are feeding your family or you are working in the office or you're going someplace, etc., discussing, talking, you may not be just talking, thinking about it all the time, which is okay. You have it in the background but you must have it in the background because that will keep you going. You don't get completely distracted and lose the very sense of the journey. So this is meaning of jigyasa. So the sananta, which is a very important grammatical construction in Sanskritam, sananta, gives you that extra push to say this is the meaning of your gyatumichha, to knowing that even though there are interruptions in your life, you should not give up the original journey of knowing the moksha in this life itself. This is the word of meaning, jigyasa. Okay, we're done with that. Next thing is two things. One is, so Brahma Jnanam Vichara, Brahma Jnanaya Vedanta Vichara. So this is the meaning. Brahma Jnanaya Vedanta Vichara. So now we question, what do you mean by Vedanta Vichara? What do you mean by the analysis of the Shruti Vakyas? So the understanding of the Upanishads and all of that is what is called Vedanta Vichara. What do you mean by that? Because I want Atma Vichara. And you yourself also said that you need to really focus on the reality that is me. But why focus on Vedanta? So the meaning is, unfortunately, you need the guidance of Vedanta. Atma Vichara done independently doesn't work, my dear. Doesn't work. How do you know that it doesn't work? I can do it. Because if I am Atma and I'm seeking myself, I don't need any support. I can do it on my own. Try it. Try it. This is why Swami Dayananji used to say that the methodology used by Ramana Maharshi's people, that Koham, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Is not useful. We have a lot of respect for Ramana Maharshi, but the methodology used by his Shishya, and in fact same thing with Jittu Krishnamurti. These are dangerous situations where he says you don't need any guru. You don't need any sons, just do it on your own. And for a while it seems like, well, I think that makes sense. Why do I need guru? I don't have any. And when you see gurus, they all have defects. No guru is perfect. So you can always develop some kind of a reason saying, you're right. I want my own mind to teach me. Swami Dayananji used to have a rather strong language for that. And Swami Paramarthananda, because he was also a student of the same guru, he also pointed out the same example. I was reading through his example. It says, who am I, who am I, who am I? You keep on doing it. And the answer comes in, I am an idiot, I am an idiot, I am an idiot. Which is not true. And it doesn't work. So you need Vedanta Vichara. You need Vedanta for the Vichara. Some guidance has to be given. Guru meva vigachet shotriyam brahmanishtam. So this is the Vedanta. Then the next point is, okay, I understand that. But why Brahma Jnanaya? Didn't you say that it should be Atma Jnanaya? Shouldn't it be meant the knowledge of the self? Why did it bring Brahma? I don't even know what Brahman is. I know who I am. That one I'm sure of. But Brahman is something that, why you do that? So he says, no, that is not, that is, you don't understand. Brahman and Atma are one and the same. Brahman and Atma is one and the same. So it should be, the sutra should be Athato Atma Jigyasa. This is what the Purva Paksha says. Purva Paksha says that I don't understand why we are beginning to understand Brahman, not Brahmaji, but Brahman. I don't understand why we are doing that. Why we shouldn't be saying Athato Atma Jigyasa. So, two reasons, two answers for that. One is, Brahman is the same as Atma. Okay, so this is one thing. Then, the second reason, and this is important, just understand this part of it very well. I know myself as a conscious person. Everybody knows I'm a very conscious person. I have consciousness. Nobody says that I am inert. But my consciousness, my understanding of my consciousness is flawed. So this is what is called Jivatma. So my Atma, which is a conscious, it's a Jnanam, Satyam Jnanam, but it is not Anantam. And similarly, Sat Chit Anandaha, Sat I can understand, Chit I can understand, source of Ananda I don't understand. How am I also the source of Ananda? And so the Anandaha and Anantaha are very similar. Because you cannot be Ananda until you understand you are Ananta. Because my Ananda is very limited from all the experiences as we saw, our local Ichcha, some stomachache or something like this. So you get some temporary Ananda, but it just goes away. Then you have some other problem. It's headache instead of a stomachache. Lack of sleep. Something or the other bothers you. Pulled muscle. Not Ananta. So the Jivatma, so here's the thing, you know that Swami Dayananji is saying I'm an idiot. So perhaps that's a bit too strong. None of us will actually use that. He was doing it to make a point. But what will be okay is, I see myself as a limited happy person. That much I can accept. Don't ask me for anything unlimited and stored. That I don't understand. But the limited Ananda I can understand. So this is the meaning of Jivatma. And Brahmatma, so Paramatma, here Brahma means Paramatma, means unlimited. So therefore, by using the word Brahma Jigyasa, not Atma Jigyasa, Vedanta Shastra is pointing out, you need to understand that the Atma is Brahma. In fact, Brahma is Atma. It's better that way. Because right now I am just protecting myself. This is me. I have my problems, whatever it is, and so on and so forth. Just leave it to me. Ishvara says, hello, you are really not just a problematic human being. You are in fact me. Ishvara is saying it, Brahman is saying it. I am you. And I don't have any problems, and therefore you don't have any problems. So I says, no, this just keep away from me. If you really understand how deep my problems are, you would also agree that I cannot be helped. So I don't know what to do about it. I'll just leave it to me. Ishvara says, hello, you're not listening to me. We are the same, my fellow, my dear fellow, we are. And all your problems are false. The reality is no problems. Are you ready to understand that? Oh, I see. Really? Is that possible? And through Vedanta it says, not only possible, it's a real thing. Pursue that. So that's the reason for answering someone. It is not Atma Vichara that we are doing. In a way we are doing Atma Vichara if you want to just quibble over words. But what we are doing is that the Jivatma's false understanding that I am not the Brahma that's the Vichara that we need to do. So that's the Vishaya. I think we have now exceeded our time. And we are now coming close to the to concluding our Vichara. And I think that I will not go through all of the Bhashya, because there's a lot of details about this. But I will select in the next class some key ones, just like I did today on the Adhikara, some key ones that would help you to see the translation between them. But basically that is nothing but a confirmation of the analysis, which is all we are almost done with. So the first sutra, I would say that with Swami Paramarthananda's help, the vichara for what is the first sutra mean, how does it really, what's the importance of that, is now pretty much over. And we will see whether some of the bhashya would be useful for those that know Sanskrit. We will see that. But I think going into the detailed bhashya will be not relevant, not appropriate for this class. So we'll see. So with that, let me just finish the prayers and then open up for any questions that you have. Om Rahu Grasta Divankarendu Sadrisho Mayat Samachadnat Sanmatra Karanopasamharanato Yo Bhut Sushuktaf Puman Pragaswap Samiti Prabodha Samaye Yaprathyabhigyayate Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Palyadishvapi Jagradadishu Tatha Sarvasvavasthasvapi Vyavrittasvanuvartamanamah Vidyantaspurantam Sada Swatmanam Prakati Karoti Bhajatam Yo Mudraya Bhadraya Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Vishvam Pashyati Karya Karanataya Swaswami Sambandhataha Shishyacharya tathaiva Pitruputratyaatmana bhedataha Swapne jagrati vaya esha purusho Maya paribhramitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaitam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Bhurambhamsya nalo nilo ambaramaharnartho himam shuvpuman Nitya ityabhati chara charatmakamidam Yasyaiva murtyashtakam Nanyat kinchana vidyate vimrashatam Yasmat parasmat vibhoho Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Sarvatmatvamiti Sputikritamidam Yasmatamushmin stave Tenasya Shravanat Dartamananat Dhyanat Sankirtanat Sarvatmatvamaha Vibhuti Sahitam Syadishwaratvam Swataha Siddhyetat Punarashtadha Parinatam Chaishwaryamavyahatam Om Ashubhani Nirachashthe Tanoti Shubhasantatim Smritimatrena Yat Pumsam Brahmatat Mangalam Param Atikalyana Rupatvat Nitya Kalyana Samshrayat Smartranam Varadatvat Cha Brahmatan Mangalam Viduhu Omkaraschata Shabdascha Dvavetau Brahmanah Pura Kantham Bhitva Viniryatau Tasmat Mangilakau Vubhau Om Atha Om Atha Om Atha Om. The question from, first of all, good to see you, all of you, so wonderful. I would just have one request from you. Do give me some feedback whether the way we are approaching this, it's not I'm going to change it suddenly or anything, but I can make some adjustments. The way we are approaching this, where we have the main emphasis on the general analysis and the three segments that we went through, and perhaps not spending as much time on the bhashya and the meaning of that bhashya, is okay with you or not? Because it's very possible that some of you may feel that you want bhashya more, and so it's not as though I'm going to change it drastically one way or the other, but I can make some adjustments. So please let me know that. I think one of the students had told me that this class and the detail was a bit too much for her and she dropped out, which is perfectly okay. This is how it is. It's not supposed to be everything for everyone. So I think any feedback that you have will help me adjust it so that I'm focused on the right things. Raj Velpuri said, yes, that Bhashya uploaded is the IIT Kanpur, and that's the one I was reading from today. So yeah, that's the right one. Any other questions that you have? There is a new name today that is not familiar to me, Radha Mangala. And so if you can please send an email to me, vijaykapoor@gmail.com, just introducing yourself, I would very much appreciate it. I'd like to know who is attending and get to know them a little bit. So that would be nice. I don't see anybody new other than Radha, and no other questions per se. Let me go one more time. Is this something that I'm... Shailaja Kalyana Krishna Raman. Also some new name there. Maybe it's my mistake. I don't recognize someone that I should know. But I think that would be... if you could let me know who you are, that would be good to do. Just on the side, just an incidental thing. At 7 o'clock today, there was a Zoom meeting. Just a second. Ashish says, will it be possible to upload the bhashyas of all the 4 sutras? Yeah, I meant to do that. I don't have it, but I think I can get it from the IIT site. I did try to get the Upanishad from it, and apparently the site is being redone. So I couldn't get the Upanishads, but I think the Brahma Sutras are available. I can download all the rest of the 3 and put it in a document for you. So I will be happy to do that. Okay. Another new name is Siddhana Gowda Patil. Again, if you could please let me know, I would very much appreciate. Send me an email, vijaykapoor@gmail.com. What I was going to say was that at 7 o'clock, there was a Zoom meeting on the 13th day of the passing of my brother-in-law. I have only one sister, and her husband had a very advanced Parkinson's anyway. He was really suffering. And when he caught COVID, that kind of pushed him over the edge, and he passed away 13 days ago today. And today, they asked me to, I was honored to give a prayer, opening prayer for him. And then the rest of the people all spoke. And so I also talked to our local Pujari and got some pointers as to how would he do, because I was given 10 minutes. So I was thinking, how would a temple priest do, given only 10 minutes to do this? So based on his advice, then I did the following. I did a sankalpa, and then the second one would be a brief section of Purusha Suktam, and the third one was selected verses from the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And so the reason I'm mentioning this is because I see this as what a wonderful coincidence. Our Gita class has been going on for the last 2.5 years, and today, in the next class, which is going to begin in about half hour, we are going to begin the section on the remembering Ishvara for the next life. And that is the same section that applied to a real case of my brother-in-law passing away. I just sat there and I said, Ishvara, you really, you're behind all this. Anyway, so this section on the 8th chapter of the Gita, in fact, the reason I'm mentioning it to you is that we begin now verses number 5 to 28 of the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which deals with, in case I cannot get Jivan Mukti, how should I lead the rest of my life in preparation for my next life? So this is very unique in the Bhagavad Gita. Most of the Bhagavad Gita is on Jivan Mukti, but in this one there is Krama Mukti. So this may be interesting for some of you to see. You can look at the stored versions of that, and it will be useful. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. This is what I did for the rest of my family, and so that's how it happened. Anyway, good. We'll see you next week. Om.